Welcome to Crosstalk Solutions. My name's Chris, and this is FreePBX 101 version 15, part 11, where we're going to be talking about Crosstalk phone provisioning as well as the Clearly Devices module. In our last video, we talked about zero-touch provisioning. Zero-touch provisioning is the concept of taking a phone that's at a factory default state, plugging it in, and having it go through all of the various steps to getting registered to your server without you having to touch that phone at all. So if you missed the last video and anything in this video confuses you, go back to the last video. It's sort of a foundational video where we talk about all of the moving parts involved in zero-touch provisioning, and it can definitely be confusing, or I should say it's definitely a stronger learning curve than a lot of the other concepts in voice over IP. So in this video, we're going to take a factory default Crosstalk phone. These are actually Clearly IP phones rebranded for Crosstalk, and we are going to get it from a factory default state, plugged in without touching it, all the way registered to our hosted PBX. And this will work regardless if your PBX is hosted on premises, if you have an FQDN, an IP address, all of that will work fine. Hopefully you will understand how it all works by the end of this video. Okay, jumping right back into FreePBX, here we are at the dashboard of our test PBX, and you're going to notice that it looks a little bit different than it did in previous videos. This is because it is now Crosstalk branded. We can see Welcome to Crosstalk PBX, and we can see the Crosstalk Solutions logo in the upper left-hand corner as well as in the footer of this webpage. The reason that I branded this as a Crosstalk PBX server is because we needed to switch over to Clearly IP's module repository in order to get their third-party module add-ons working without throwing errors in the dashboard. And I explain all of this in a video that we called Switching to Clearly IP Module Repository, and I will put a link to that video down below. If you're going to be using Crosstalk phones, which I highly suggest you do, there's a lot of advantages to using these Crosstalk phones, plus they come with a 2-year warranty. Check out that link below, and it shows you exactly how to get all of the necessary Clearly IP modules installed into FreePBX and how to switch over to Clearly IP's module repo. And additionally, if you want to brand your PBX as a Crosstalk PBX, you can go ahead and do so. So now we are Crosstalk PBX, and we have the Clearly Trunking module, the Clearly Anywhere module, and the Clearly Devices module. So for zero-touch provisioning, we're going to have to go into Clearly Devices. So let's click Settings, Clearly Devices. And notice that right now, our Crosstalk 270 phone is not mapped to any extensions whatsoever. That's what we're going to do as part of this video. So the first thing that we want to do when we come into the Clearly Devices module is create our hot desk default. So we're going to click on this wizard right here, and basically we're just going to put in an extension number that we're not using. The hot desk defaults are essentially pre-configured templates for phones that are set up to hot desk but logged out. And this is something that you're going to want to set up whether or not you're actually using hot desking. Hot desking being the ability to log in and out of a phone as a different extension. Even if you're not using hot desking, you want to utilize this hot desk default because according to the new regulations surrounding E911, even a phone that is logged out, like a hot desk phone that is logged out, needs to have the ability to dial 911. So this is preparing for that ultimate eventuality. If you have a phone that happens to be logged out and someone tries to dial 911 and they can't, that's a big problem. So just come in here. I'm going to use 9999 as my default logged out phone hot desk extension, and we're going to click Submit. The next thing we want to do is set up some defaults for the Clearly Devices module. So we're going to click on Module Settings. And here we can see the fallback FQDN/IP. Now when I'm setting up a phone system, especially a hosted phone system, I like to use the FQDN everywhere. This way, if I ever had to take a snapshot of this server or a backup of this server and restore it to a server that has a different IP address, all of the phones and all of the information is using the fully qualified domain name. So then all I have to do is change the fully qualified domain name's A record from one IP address to another, and all of the phones and devices will follow suit. It's just a much cleaner way of making sure that your devices are connected to the server. So we're going to say testpbx.crosstalksip.com. Phone apps port is 2579. That's totally fine. For phone apps protocol, we're going to choose HTTPS because we want to do everything securely, and HTTPS is more secure than HTTP. For our phone app certificate, we want to choose our Let's Encrypt certificate that we generated a few videos ago. And then finally, we have a no voicemail password login. So basically, if there's an extension that doesn't have voicemail associated with it, what's going to be the default login for phone apps for that particular extension? And we'll just say like 654321. Next, we're going to click on the provisioning tab, and here we have the FQDN/IP for the provisioning server. This is the server that basically pushes the configuration files to the phones, and once again, we want to use the fully qualified domain name for that, not the IP address. We're going to say testpbx.crosstalksip.com. Our provisioning port is going to be 2580. And then here we have our provisioning username and our provisioning password. Make sure you note down that information because we're going to need that when we set up our redirect server. Provision protocol, we're going to switch to HTTPS. For the certificate, we're going to choose our Let's Encrypt certificate. And then for the default image, this is for the sort of not registered image. We're going to choose this one that Clearly IP provides for us called not registered. Okay, that's all we need to do for setup. Go ahead and click Submit and Apply Config. Next, we need to set up two different templates, or I should say a template for the phone settings and then a template for the button settings for the display of the phone. And these can be different, right? You can have one template for all of your general phone settings and then different button layouts for different groups of phones. Or you can have multiple templates on both sides. It really doesn't matter, but in general, I try to combine these templates down into as few templates as possible. It just makes it easier in terms of IT administration. So we're going to pull out the side tray, and we're going to say Add Template Layout. Remember, these are the settings, the general settings for this specific phone model. We're going to call this Default 270 because this is a Crosstalk 270 phone. In fact, I'll even call it Default Crosstalk 270. We're going to copy that and put that in as the description as well. Then we have our admin username of admin and our admin password of 920383. This is the password for logging into the menu settings of the phone. So if you go into the menu, there are some advanced settings that are going to prompt you for a password. The password is going to be whatever you put here for admin password. By default, it's 920383 for Clearly IP/Crosstalk devices. This is because that's the area code and prefix for Clearly IP out in Appleton, Wisconsin. If you ever need to log into the GUI interface of this phone, which we're not going to do because we're doing zero-touch provisioning, but if you ever did need to log into the GUI interface of the phone, these are your credentials for logging into the phone. For primary host, this is the SIP server that we want this phone to use. And again, we want to use fully qualified domain name for all this sort of stuff. So we're going to say testpbx.crosstalksip.com. And then everything else we're just inheriting from other settings. If we click on phone settings, here we have general settings for the phone, such as settings for the backlight of the display, call waiting tone. What's your dial timeout? I usually bump this down to 2. Dial timeout is like when you dial a phone number and then stop dialing, how many seconds does the phone wait before it automatically sends that call? 4 seconds to me is a little bit long. We'll put it at 2 seconds here. And then all of these other settings that for the most part you can leave default. They have to do with the volume of the handset and the speakerphone and the labels, the buttons on the phone itself. Again, you can look through this full list. One that I did want to point out though is this one here, long press idle state. These phones have the ability to short press and long press. So when you're using what's called a BLF, and we'll get into this a little bit further on as we're setting up these phones, a BLF is a busy lamp field. It's essentially a button that you can put on the phone that monitors the status of a different extension. So if I'm extension 200, I can put a BLF key on this phone for extension 201, okay, a different phone, and then that button functions as an indicator whether extension 201 is on a call, it turns red, or off a call, it's green. And then I can use that as a speed dial if I just press it. And then if I do a long press, that's the functionality that we're adding here. So long press idle, we're going to say star 80. That means we're going to prefix a long press on that BLF key with star 80, which is going to do what? It's going to intercom that extension. So what we're doing when we set the long press idle state to star 80 is we're saying, if I have a speed dial or a BLF key for a different user, if I just press that, it's going to speed dial them, but if I hold it down for longer than 1 second, it's going to intercom them. So really great functionality. Then there's all these other sort of settings that you can look through in here, but again, mostly we're just going to leave all of this default. And we're going to skip directory settings, but you might want to use directory settings if you're doing any sort of multicast paging. We will get into paging and multicast paging later in this series. If we click on regional settings, this allows us to set our time zone. I want to set mine to Los Angeles since I am in the Pacific time zone. Okay, so that's going to be it for the general settings for the phone itself. I click submit. I now have a template that's my default template for Crosstalk 270 phones. And what I would typically do is create a different template, a base template for each of the different phone models that I have. Notice also that now that we've created this template, we have this provisioning address up here in the top of the screen. If you are going to manually provision phones, this is the URL that you would want to copy and then paste into the provisioning URL field when you log into this phone's GUI. So again, we're not doing that because we don't like doing manual setup of the phones. We want to do automated setup of the phones. That's the zero-touch provisioning. But if you are doing manual setup of the phones, that's what you need to put into the phone so that the phone knows where to go to get its configuration file. Okay, so next we're going to create a model layout. Now notice we do have some defaults here. These are the logged out 270, logged out 250, logged out 230. That's what was created when we did those hot desking defaults earlier in this video. But now we're going to add a new one. So we're going to say add model layout. We're going to choose the model. This is a Crosstalk 270, rebranded Clearly IP 270 phone. So we're going to click on CIP 270. For model description, we're going to call this default Crosstalk 270. We can leave the dial plan as is. For the background image, I have a Crosstalk logo background image that I'm going to select. And then we have some settings for the USB key mode. This is not something that we're going to be using. Clearly IP has a panic button that you can purchase that plugs into the USB port on this phone. If you're interested in that panic button, go check out Clearly IP's website. But it's a really, really cool feature. Since we don't have one, we're not going to be touching any of these USB key settings. Next, we want to click on line keys. Now, the line keys determine what buttons are up and down the left and right side soft keys of this phone. So right now it says line key, line key, line key, and that's it, nothing else, right? So we're going to change that and we're going to say line key, that's our extension. So for the first two upper right buttons, upper left buttons, it'll be line key. And then for the third key, let's choose one of Clearly's apps. Okay, so we've got the voicemail app, for instance. So if I click voicemail, and then we click submit, we've now modified the button layout for this phone. And there's other things that you can modify as well, such as the horizontal soft keys, which are dynamic. They change based on what state the phone is in. If you're in use, or if it's idle, or if you're on a conference call, or if it's ringing. These are all different states where you can modify the buttons across the bottom of the display screen for whatever you see fit. These other tabs are for expansion modules. There's 6 different tabs because you can have up to 6 of the Crosstalk 200 expansion models attached to this Crosstalk 270 phone. So this phone's getting pretty close to having the ability to zero-touch provision. One of the things that we just did, however, is we opened up port 2580 for Clearly device provisioning and 2579 for the Clearly phone apps. So we want to first go over to our firewall and double check that both of those ports are open so that when the phones come through and actually try to get their configuration from the servers, or when they come through and try to run phone apps, those ports are allowing those phones through. So we're going to go to connectivity and firewall, and then we want to pull out the side tray and choose services. Under custom services, we can see the Clearly IP services have already been added automatically, but One thing that didn't get added automatically, we can see here, is the Clearly Apps port, which is 2579. So we're going to edit this, and we're going to say 2579 for the port. Okay, so we have Clearly Provisioning on port 2580 open up to the internet zone as well as the local zone. Then we have 2579 for the apps, again open to the internet as well as the local zone. We should be good to go. The next thing that we need to do is tell FreePBX that the MAC address of this phone is associated with a particular extension number. And that's what we're going to do next, right after a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by our Crosstalk Solutions turnkey hosted or on-premises PBX services. If you're looking for a technology partner to help painlessly transition you to a brand new PBX, then look no further than Crosstalk Solutions. We offer full turnkey PBX installations where we work with you on the design of the system, perform a complete setup and test of the PBX and all equipment, and then ship everything to you ready for plug-and-play installation. Once you receive the equipment, we'll guide you through the transition to the new system, provide user guides and training material for your users, provide administrative training for your administrators, and we also include 30 days of post-deployment support with no ongoing monthly maintenance fees. We will also ensure to set up your PBX with best practice Kerry's Law and RABOM Act compliant E911 emergency dialing, as well as guide you through the phone number porting process if you're switching phone service carriers. We have truly designed our turnkey PBX process to be as painless as possible because we know that switching PBX systems can be a daunting task, but it doesn't have to be when you choose Crosstalk Solutions for your voice over IP needs. So check out crosstalksolutions.com for more information on our turnkey PBX packages, and when you're ready to get started, just fill out the contact form on our website or email info@crosstalksolutions.com for a custom quote within 1 business day. All right, now back to the video. All right, thank you so much for that. Now, let's make sure that the MAC address of this phone is associated with one of our extensions. We're going to go back to the Clearly Devices module, so Settings, Clearly Devices, and then we're going to say Add Mapping. The extension that we're going to use is our first extension, extension 200 for Michael Scott. Contact 1 is perfectly fine. The template that we're going to use is the default Crosstalk 270 template that we created. The MAC address of the phone can be found on the back of the phone. And if you're going to be doing phone provisioning of large numbers of phones, I highly suggest getting a barcode scanner because it can really help speed things up because you don't have to type in MAC addresses, you can just scan them. So we have this phone's MAC address in here now. For the model, we're going to choose our default Crosstalk 270 phone model or button layout that we already set up. And then registration 1 is perfectly fine. Notice there's one more checkbox over here for VPN. If this phone is going to do VPN to the server, you're going to want to make sure that box is checked. One thing I should also mention, in terms of firewall rules, for VPN, for the provisioning, for the phone apps, these all work on TCP ports that if you are using the FreePBX firewall only, you should be good to go. But if you're an on-premises box and you've got phones coming in through your external corporate firewall, you're going to also need to port forward those ports through to the PBX or none of this is going to work. All right, so we've added our mapping. Let's go ahead and click Submit. And at this point, we are all done with configuration in FreePBX. If I go to my default Crosstalk 270 template layout and I copy and paste this provisioning address URL directly into the phone, it will now register as extension 200. Okay, but we want to do this with IT magic, right? We want to do this with zero-touch provisioning. I don't want to have to touch the phone itself to do this. So what we need to do next is log into the Clearly IP redirect server at devices.clearlyip.com. And if you don't have a login for their servers, you can go to that same URL and then just sign up. It's absolutely free. Okay, so devices.clearlyip.com, you can see up here in the corner there's a login/sign up button. We're going to click right there. And here we are logged into Clearly IP's redirect server. So if we click on redirect, we've got two different things here. We've got locations. That's us telling the redirect server, hey, here is my server information, the FQDN, the username and password for provisioning, the port, etc. Then we have phones. And for phones, we're saying the MAC address of this phone should be associated with XYZ location, whatever location I create. So you have to have a location first. So let's go there. And here we have the redirect location details for testpbx.crosstalksip.com. So we've got the name, the IP address, the protocol, in this case we're doing HTTPS, the protocol port, and then the username and password. Now I've already set this up previously, so all of this information already exists, but if you don't have this, you can simply add a new location and then put this information in. The only thing I need to double check from the last time that I set this up is that my protocol username and password are still correct. And it looks like everything is correct, so we're just going to click Update Location. Now we need to associate the MAC address of this phone with that location, so we're going to go to Redirect Phones. We're going to say Add Filter, MAC address, and then we're going to search for the MAC address of this phone. There we have it, and we can edit this phone. And what we see here for this MAC address is a redirect location of testpbx.crosstalksip.com, right? So this has already been set up, because I was doing testing with this yesterday. If you have not set up a redirect, it will ask you, hey, where do you want to redirect this phone? You got to choose the location that we just created. Device name can be whatever you want, and then we want to check the box down here that says Enable Redirection and click Update Phone. Okay, so at this point, this phone should be good to go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my handy dandy little side camera, we're going to turn this on and point it to the phone, and then I'm going to factory default the Crosstalk 270 phone yet again, and this time when I factory defaults, it's going to check the clearly IP redirect server. It's going to say, hey, I'm MAC address so-and-so. The redirect server is going to say, great, go to testpbx.crosstalksip.com with this username and password on this port, etc., etc. Then the phone's going to say, okay, great. It's going to go to the test PBX. It's going to log in. It's going to download its configuration, and it's going to register to the server without me having to touch it other than factory reset it. Okay, so I'm going to start recording this phone right now. We're going to hit record. And the first thing I want to do is factory default the phone. So we're going to say Menu, Settings, Advanced, and we're going to type in the default password of the phone, which is admin. So A-D-M-I-N, enter. Then we want to come over here to Settings, Reset. Are you sure you want to reset to factory? Okay. All right, so this phone is now factory resetting. And I am not going to touch it. We're going to watch the phone as it goes through. It should reboot, come up, grab its configuration, reboot again, and register to the server. And if it needs a firmware update, it will also do that firmware update. In this case, though, it was updated just yesterday, so there shouldn't be a firmware update for this phone. Alright, so there we go. It took almost exactly 2 minutes, and as you can see, we've got extension 200 registered, and we have that voicemail key that we set up in the button mapping config. So let's just make sure that this phone is registered. We're going to dial our echo test of *43.
You are about to enter an echo test. In this mode, everything...
And so that's just a way to say, is this phone connected to the server? Yes, it is. So there we have it. Perfect zero-touch provisioning with all of those moving parts coming together to perform like magic and getting this phone to register with our server from a factory default state. This is how we can take a phone, drop ship it to our customers, and by the time they receive that phone and plug it into Power over Ethernet, that phone's ready to rock and roll and be connected to their server. It's an absolutely wonderful thing to get to know and love. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. In the next video, we're going to be doing the same exact thing, but with Sangoma phones instead. And then the subsequent video to that, we're going to be doing some manual phone setups in case you guys don't have Crosstalk phones or you don't have Sangoma phones. If you don't have the ability to do zero-touch provisioning, we're not going to leave you out of this series. We will have a video for that as well. All right, we will see you guys in the next one.